Hello, it's PSYCHOCORE, mental slavery, the silent epidemic. Yesterday, I watched my daughter disappear. She was sitting right next to me on the couch, but her eyes were gone. Vacant, empty, like nobody was home. For 3 hours straight, she scrolled through her phone. When I asked her what she was looking at, she couldn't tell me. That's when I realized I was looking at a zombie. My name is Michael. I'm a recovering phone addict. And I need to tell you something that might save your life. 6 months ago, I almost lost everything. My wife found me at 3 a.m. sitting on the bathroom floor crying. "What's wrong?" she asked. I couldn't explain it. I felt empty, hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides with a spoon. I can't think anymore," I whispered. "I feel like I'm going insane." Let me tell you what led to that moment. It was 2 a.m. the night before. I was lying in bed next to my sleeping wife. And I was scrolling through nothing, absolutely nothing. Watching videos of people I didn't know doing things I didn't care about, my thumb moving mechanically endlessly. And suddenly I realized I couldn't stop. I literally could not put the phone down. My brain was screaming, "Stop," but my hand kept moving. That's when it hit me. I wasn't in control anymore. The next morning I looked at my screen time report. 11 hours and 43 minutes on my phone in one day. That's almost 12 hours of my life gone. Poured into the digital void. And for what? What did I have to show for it? Nothing. Less than nothing. I was emptier than when I started. But here's what really terrified me. I couldn't remember most of what I'd seen. 11 hours of my consciousness completely wasted. Like I'd been in a coma but awake, a walking zombie consuming. But never actually living. That's when I understood the horrible truth. I had become a stranger to myself. I no longer knew what I actually liked, what I actually thought, what I actually wanted. Everything was filtered through an algorithm. Every opinion I had, every emotion I felt, every desire I experienced was shaped by some faceless corporation whose only goal was profit. I wasn't living my life. I was performing it for an invisible audience that didn't actually care about me. Here's what the tech companies don't want you to know. Your brain is being rewired. Every notification, every red dot, every infinite scroll is literally changing the structure of your mind. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're being neurologically hijacked by billionaires who study addiction for a living. They have teams of neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, addiction specialists, all working together to make their apps more addictive. They study your behavior patterns like lab rats. They know exactly when you're most vulnerable. They send notifications at precisely the right moment to hook you. You think you're in control, but you're just a test subject in the largest behavioral experiment in human history. Sean Parker, one of Facebook's founders, admitted it himself. He said, "We're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology." We understood this and we did it anyway. Think about that. They knew they were hijacking your brain, and they did it anyway. For profit. Instagram's former president said something even more chilling. "We're training an entire generation to live for the approval of strangers." Let that sink in. Your self-worth, your happiness, your sense of identity is being shaped by algorithms designed to keep you scrolling. You're not living your life, you're performing it. There's a term for it, persuasive design. It sounds innocent, doesn't it? But it's psychological warfare. Every color choice, every sound, every animation is designed to trigger a response in your brain, to make you want more, to make you need more, to make you unable to function without constant stimulation. Let me show you how deep this goes. Sarah, a 28-year-old teacher, came to me last month. "I can't read bedtime stories to my kids anymore," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I get 2 sentences in and my brain starts screaming for stimulation." My 5-year-old asked me yesterday, "Mommy, why do you love your phone more than me?" Sarah broke down completely. That night, she threw her phone against the wall, but 12 hours later, she bought a new one. Because that's how addiction works, David, a successful lawyer, told me. I realized I hadn't had an original thought in months. Every conversation I have, every opinion I express, it's all recycled from some post I saw. I've become a human echo chamber. He paused, staring at his hands. Yesterday, my son asked me to help with his homework. I couldn't focus for 5 minutes without checking my phone. 5 minutes, that's all I could give my own child. His voice broke. I'm failing as a father because I'm addicted to a piece of glass. Here's what broke my heart. I asked my teenage nephew what he wanted to be when he grew up. He stared at me blankly for 30 seconds, then said, "I don't know, I've never thought about it. I just watch what other people do and copy them." This kid, this brilliant, creative kid, had his dreams stolen before he even knew he had them. His imagination hijacked by algorithms. His future decided by faceless corporations who see him as nothing more than a data point. The psychology behind this is terrifying. Your brain evolved to seek novelty for survival. When our ancestors heard a new sound, saw a new movement, felt a new sensation, it could mean the difference between life and death. So we developed an insatiable hunger for the new, the different, the unexpected. But now that ancient survival mechanism is being weaponized against you. Every swipe gives you a tiny hit of dopamine, that little burst of pleasure, that moment of satisfaction. But like any drug, you need more and more to feel the same high, until normal life, real life, feels unbearably boring. Your children become boring. Your partner becomes boring. Your work becomes boring. Your dreams become boring. Because nothing can compete with the artificial intensity of digital stimulation. But here's the terrifying part most people miss. This isn't just about social media. This is about the complete restructuring of human consciousness. Every time you reach for your phone, you're training your brain to be impatient. Every time you scroll past something difficult, you're teaching yourself to avoid discomfort. Every time you choose the easy dopamine hit, you're weakening your ability to delay gratification. You're literally rewiring yourself to be weak, to be dependent, to be controllable. Let me tell you what really happens when you check your phone. Your brain releases a small amount of dopamine. That dopamine creates a craving for more. Within minutes, you're checking again. This cycle repeats hundreds of times a day. Your brain becomes addicted to the pattern. Soon you can't function without constant stimulation. You become a dopamine junkie. And like any junkie, you'll do anything for your next fix. Mark, a former Google engineer, told me something that still gives me nightmares. We had algorithms that could predict when someone was going to have a mental breakdown. We could see it coming days, sometimes weeks in advance. Based on their scrolling patterns, their engagement metrics, their emotional responses. And instead of helping them, we'd show them more engaging content. To keep them distracted, keep them scrolling. Because a person in crisis is a person who consumes more content. Think about the evil of that. Human suffering turned into profit. Your pain monetized. Your mental breakdown seen as an opportunity to increase engagement. Your mental health sacrificed on the altar of quarterly earnings. And you volunteered for this. You signed up. You agreed to the terms and conditions without reading them. Without understanding what you were giving away. They track everything. How long you look at each post. When you pause scrolling. What makes you click? What makes you share? What makes you angry? What makes you sad? What makes you buy? They know you better than you know yourself. They can predict your behavior, manipulate your emotions, control your thoughts. All without you even realizing it's happening. But it gets worse. Much worse. These platforms aren't just stealing your attention. They're reshaping your brain, literally, physically, rewiring your neural pathways. Making you incapable of sustained attention, destroying your ability to think deeply, turning you into a creature of pure impulse, a reactive animal instead of a conscious human being. Dr. Anna Lemke, a Stanford psychiatrist, calls it digital dopamine. She says, "We're living in the most addictive time in human history." And most people don't even realize they're addicts. Your phone, your social media, your streaming services. They're all drugs. Carefully engineered, precisely calibrated, perfectly addictive drugs. And like any drug, they have side effects. Anxiety, depression, insomnia, attention deficit. Social isolation, emotional numbness, existential emptiness. An entire generation mentally ill, and nobody's talking about the real cause. Because the companies making you sick are the same companies funding the research. They profit from your sickness. They need you to be broken, desperate, always seeking the next fix. Here's what nobody talks about. This addiction doesn't just steal your time. It steals your ability to be present with the people you love. How many conversations have you missed because you were half listening? How many sunsets have you ignored because you were staring at a screen? How many moments with your children, your parents, your friends have you sacrificed to feed this digital monster growing in your pocket? But the worst part, the absolute worst part, is what it's doing to your capacity for deep thought. Real creativity requires sustained attention. Love requires presence. Wisdom requires reflection. But when your mind is constantly fragmented, constantly seeking the next hit, you become incapable of anything profound. You become shallow. A shadow of who you could be. Your thoughts are no longer your own. Every video you watch, every article you read, every post you see is chosen by an algorithm. An artificial intelligence deciding what you think about, shaping your worldview, influencing your opinions, controlling your beliefs. You think you're making choices, but you're just following a script written by machines. Machines programmed by people who profit from your confusion, your division, your anger, your fear. Because strong emotions create engagement, and engagement creates profit. Rachel, a 19-year-old college student, told me something that broke my heart. I don't know what I actually believe anymore. Everything I think, everything I feel comes from something I saw online. I feel like I'm disappearing. Like I'm becoming nobody. She started sobbing. I don't know who I am when the screen is off. This is what we've done to ourselves. We've outsourced our consciousness, handed over our minds to corporations whose only goal is profit. But here's what gives me hope. I found a way out. And if I can do it, so can you. That night on the bathroom floor, crying, broken, lost, I made a decision that saved my life. I deleted every social media app from my phone. All of them. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Gone. My phone felt naked, empty, foreign. But for the first time in years, it felt like mine again. The first week was brutal. I reached for my phone hundreds of times a day. Muscle memory, pure addiction. I'd unlock it, see nothing but essential apps, and feel this crushing disappointment. Like showing up to a party and finding an empty house. My hands were literally shaking. I felt like a piece of me was missing. But I persisted. The withdrawal symptoms were real. Anxiety, restlessness, a feeling of being disconnected from the world. FOMO, fear of missing out, was eating me alive. What if something important happened? What if people forgot about me? What if I became irrelevant? But I held on. Because I knew that what I was missing wasn't real. Week 2, something strange happened. I started noticing things. The way my coffee smelled in the morning. The sound of my daughter's laugh, really hearing it for the first time in years. The feeling of my wife's hand in mine. The texture of tree bark, the color of the sky, the sound of silence. Things that had been there all along, but I'd been too distracted to notice. It was like putting on glasses after years of being half blind. The world was more beautiful than I remembered. By week 3, I was reading again. Real books with actual pages. I finished a novel in 2 days. 2 days. I hadn't read a complete book in 3 years. My brain, starved for depth, devoured every word. It was like feeding a man who'd been surviving on junk food for years. The richness, the complexity, the depth of real literature. It was intoxicating in the best possible way, but the real transformation came in week 4. I was sitting in my backyard, just sitting, no phone, no distractions, no agenda. And I had an idea, not a borrowed idea, not something I'd seen online. A completely original thought. It felt like finding treasure in my own mind. A treasure that had been buried under years of digital debris. That idea became a short story. Then another story, then a collection. Creativity I thought was dead came roaring back to life, all because I'd given my mind space to breathe. Space to wander, space to wonder, space to be creative. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Here's what I've learned about breaking free. First, acknowledge you have a problem. You can't fix what you won't admit is broken. Most people are in denial about their digital addiction. They think they can control it. They think they're different. They're not. If you're using social media regularly, if you check your phone more than 50 times a day, if you feel anxious when your battery dies, if you sleep with your phone next to your bed, you're an addict. Period. And that's okay. Admitting it is the first step to freedom. Second, understand the enemy. Every app on your phone was designed by teams of psychologists. People with PhDs in human behavior. They know exactly which buttons to push, which levers to pull. To keep you hooked. You're not fighting a fair fight. You're fighting billion-dollar corporations with unlimited resources. They have more data about you than you have about yourself. So you need to be smart, strategic, ruthless. Third, create friction. Make it harder to access your digital drugs. Delete apps, log out of accounts, turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room when you sleep. Use a physical alarm clock instead of your phone. Install app blockers. Set screen time limits. Create barriers between you and your addiction. Because in the moment of craving, you need obstacles. You need time to think, time to choose. Fourth, replace the habit. You can't just remove something without replacing it. When you feel the urge to scroll, do something else. Read a book, take a walk, call a friend. Have real conversations, create something, build something, learn a skill, practice an instrument, write in a journal. Feed your soul instead of feeding the algorithm. Give your mind something real to chew on. Fifth, find your tribe. Surround yourself with people who support your digital wellness. People who understand what you're trying to do. People who won't judge you for not being constantly available. People who value presence over productivity, depth over distraction, real connection over digital simulation, and finally, be patient with yourself. This isn't easy, it's not supposed to be. You're fighting years, maybe decades of conditioning. You're rewiring your brain, rebuilding your attention span, reclaiming your consciousness. That takes time. There will be relapses, there will be moments of weakness. Times when you fall back into old patterns. That's normal, that's human. The key is to keep trying, keep fighting, keep choosing consciousness over comfort. I want you to try something right now. Put your phone in another room. Sit quietly for 10 minutes. No music, no TV, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. I guarantee within 2 minutes you'll feel uncomfortable. Within 5 minutes, you'll feel anxious. By minute 7, you'll be fighting the urge to grab your phone. That discomfort, that's withdrawal. You're an addict and your drug is distraction. But here's the beautiful thing. That discomfort, that anxiety, that restlessness. It's not your enemy. It's your ticket to freedom. Because on the other side of that discomfort lies everything you've been missing. Peace, clarity, presence, joy. The ability to think your own thoughts. The capacity to feel your own feelings. The freedom to be yourself. Your attention is the most precious thing you possess. It's more valuable than money, more important than possessions, more powerful than any drug. Because attention is life itself. Where you place your attention is where you place your life. And your life is too beautiful to sleepwalk through, too precious to waste on digital distractions. Too important to hand over to corporations who see you as nothing more than a profit center. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 24 hours, be conscious of every time you reach for your phone. Don't change anything yet, just notice. Notice how often you check it. Notice what triggers the urge. Notice how you feel before, during, and after. Just notice. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Tomorrow, try something different. When you feel the urge to check your phone, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Ask yourself, what am I really looking for right now? Am I bored, anxious, lonely, avoiding something? Most of the time, you're not looking for information. You're looking for an escape from discomfort. But discomfort is not your enemy. It's your teacher. And when you're ready, when something inside you says enough, delete one app. Just one, the one that steals the most time. The one that makes you feel the worst about yourself. The one that turns you into someone you don't recognize. Delete it right now. Don't think about it. Don't negotiate with yourself. Just do it. Because here's what I know for certain. Your life, your real life is happening now. Not online, not in some virtual world, but here, in this moment, in this breath. In the space between your thoughts, in the silence between the notifications. That's where you'll find yourself. That's where you'll find peace. That's where you'll find home. The path back to yourself isn't comfortable. It's not convenient. It doesn't give you instant gratification. But it gives you something far more valuable, the sovereignty of your own mind. The ability to choose your thoughts, the power to direct your attention. The freedom to be fully alive. Wake up! The world needs you awake, not distracted, not numbed, not half present, but fully, completely, radiantly awake. Turn off the screen. Come home to yourself. Your real life is waiting. If you enjoyed this video, support the channel. Like, share, and subscribe.